Hey guys, Mr. Baines here to talk about adding and subtracting fractions. Let's get started. Add this to your table of contents. Make sure the date and page number are correct in your notebook. Go ahead and pause it. All right. I will be able to add and subtract fractions. Pretty simple. Sum is addition, difference is subtraction, fraction problems. All right. So, the steps for adding and subtractions are basically the same. You find the least common denominator of both the fractions. You multiply the fractions by that number so that they both have the same denominator. Then you add or subtract the numerators, and then you simplify. So to find the least common denominator, this is probably the hardest step. It's the smallest number that is a multiple of both of two denominators, both denominators. So if we had 11/12 and 4/5, we're looking for the smallest number that is a multiple of both 12 and 5. The multiples of 12 are 12, 24, 36, 48, 60, and you could keep going. Multiples of 5, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. So 60 is the smallest number that both of these share as multiples. So the least common denominator is 60. All right, so you would do 11/12 times 5 over 5. This gives you 55 out of 60. So 11/12 is the same as 55 out of 60. 4/5 times 12 over 12 is equal to 48/60. So 4/5 is the same as 48/60. All right. So it's basically finding the least common denominator. You can do this by finding the least common multiple, which you should have learned how to do from my least common multiple video. You can do prime factorization. That's a fast way to do larger numbers, but smaller numbers should be fairly easy. Okay. So just find the least common denominators of the following fractions. Write your answers in your notebook. Go ahead and pause it. All right. These are the correct answers. So 36 is the least common denominator, 48, 56, 247. And then when you multiply them by the numbers so that they both have the same denominator, you get 4/9 or 436, 936, and so on. Okay, here's my work for 1 and 2. All right, so this is, you could do the multiples like that, or you could do prime factorization, where you find the factors, find the greatest common factor, so 3, you circle it, and you cross off one of them. Then you multiply everything else. So 3 times 3 times 2 times 2 is 36. So that's the biggest number they have in common. In this one, you have 2, 2, 2, 2, and 3. These do not have a greatest common factor besides 1. So you have to multiply all of them together, and you get 48. So that's how I found that one. Okay, you could find these ones by doing multiples. Quick little note, you should always stop once you get to this number. This number is these two multiplied together. So if you do 7 times 8, it will always be at least this number or smaller. So if you get to this number, you can stop. So 19 times 13 is 247. It just so happens that that is also their least common denominator. It's possible that it's a number smaller than that, but in this case, that's the biggest number it could be. Okay, so it's 247. And by prime factorization, this doesn't have any common factors, so you multiply them all together. This doesn't have any common factors except for 1, so you just multiply them together, and you get the least common denominator. Okay. All right, so adding. I know I said they have the same step, but here it is again. Find the least common denominator of both fractions. Multiply the fractions by numbers so that they both have the same denominator. Add the numerators and then simplify. All right, try these on your own. Go ahead and pause it. All right, these are the correct answers. So you get 36 is their least common denominator. So times 4, you get 24. This times 3 and 30. 24 plus 30 gives you 54 out of 36. And you get 6 over 4, which would actually simplify further. Sorry, that should be 3/2. 3/2. Okay, this one, their greatest or least common denominator is 48. Okay, and when you add this times 3 and this times 16, you get 74. 37 divided by 24, and so on. So these are your correct answers. If you don't understand these, please ask for help. Subtracting, you do the same thing, but instead you subtract the numerators. Try these on your own. Go ahead and pause it. All right, here's the correct answers. 9 over 30, which is the same as 3/10. Okay, so these are the answers to these. Hope it makes sense. If it doesn't, please ask for help. Last thing I need you to do is go to Google Classrooms and answer the 5 questions based on these this video. That's it, and I'll see you next time.